All right, to China now, carrying out mass coronavirus testing in one of its biggest cities. Officials in Qingdao say they have conducted 8.2 million tests in just 3 days. This comes after 12 COVID cases were found over the weekend following the Golden Week holiday. More than 630 million people in China travelled away from home during Golden Week. David Culver is live in Beijing for us. David, I was pausing and deliberating there over some of the numbers. The scale of response from the authorities in the face of all that travel and relatively so few cases says everything to me.
Julia, it's massive scale. I mean, when you talk about a city that's larger than New York and they're determined to test every single resident, according to health officials, yeah, it's a lot of people. More than 8 million they say that they have already tested. Of that 8 million, they've got roughly half of the samples processed, and they say those are negative results. So they say there are no new cases beyond the dozen or so that initially surfaced. And they've done it before. We saw it in Wuhan when they tested all 12 million residents of that city. We saw it here in Beijing in June where they tested hundreds of thousands. And I actually went to one of those mass testing sites, and it is rather impressive. It's quite organized and orderly. Anecdotally, we can also say, Julia, when you talk to folks who are on the ground in Qingdao, one of the things I wanted to understand was, is this just the official government numbers that are coming out, and yet life perhaps is showing a fear and anxiety? That does not seem to be the case. If you look at social media here and you talk to some of the people who are in Qingdao, it seems as though life is continuing as normal. In fact, they did no compartmentalized lockdowns. Aside from the mass testing, it just is continuing on. And that's something that does speak a lot of, really to how they're handling this, and speaks loudly to how they plan to do it in the future.
It's fascinating, isn't it? So many of the elements of this simply wouldn't work in nations elsewhere in the world, to your exact point. And with regards to the data and the numbers, David Trust but Verify Culver, thank you very much for joining us on the show, as always.
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.